added the things we need for copyright.
What about side effects?
That would have to go into how, around how does it work or how long do people work thing, right?
Say that again?
Side effects would have to go around how
Yeah.
it works.
Yeah, it's probably gonna have to move up because that's, how do I know it works? How long before it works?
Yeah, let's keep going just for a
Yep.
point of demonstration.
Safe.
How did you find out about this?
Okay, we're switching over to the second shortest person in the room. Doug, you're relieved of your
All right,
duties.
thank you.
Jose, you're up.
Wow, you're taller than me? I'm taller than you. I'm taller than you. I do have like.
Got heels on today?
Yeah.
Okay, keep calling it out.
All right, so we have where can I get some? Medicare. Does Medicare cover it? Am I too old? Do I have to eat it? How much? Isn't aging natural? What age do I have to be? Who uses it?
If you guys want to call out deletions, just call out deletions too.
Yeah.
Is it regulated?
All right, so I'm gonna start from the top. Is it covered by Medicare? Let me know if I should delete any of these. Am I too old? Where can I get some? Do I have to eat it? How much? Isn't aging natural? Who uses it? What if it doesn't work? Can it work for me, for anyone? What age do I have to be?
Can it work
That's
for
a-
anyone? That's good.
And then am I too old? Right under that.
What is that
Or
one?
can it work for me?
So this is, can it work for anyone?
Yep.
Am I too old?
I think it's the same post-it.
Yeah.
Delete it.
You can just put it to the side too.
So are those ones on the side, they go with the other ones, or?
No, those are
ones
all
on
the
side,
same.
you
Those
can-
are all extra
You can
ones,
throw
too.
those all
Oh,
over
okay.
on the left.
Oh, okay.
Will I live forever? How did he find this?
Will I live forever? Delete it.
Does this interact with other stuff I'm already taking?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That could be next.
Safe, safe.
Yeah, that should be near safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is it regulated, should be with safe too?
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, is it regulated and,
Sorry, so is it safe? Is it regulated?
Yep.
Um,
Triple up that post-it note real quick.
Yep.
Because I think there are variations of the same thing.
So safe, is it regulated? Can it work for anyone? Does this interact with other stuff?
Yeah,
you go.
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go, perfect. Doug, you might be back in here.
Yeah, this is a shit show.
Yeah, give Doug a
I
seat.
can't, I
falling
can't
apart.
watch this anymore.
All right, that's gonna be a good section.
Okay, we're gonna have to speed this up. So, for demonstration purposes, let's just stop there. You guys see how this is going, right?
Yeah.
Okay, next thing, Doug, you're back on, buddy.
Uh-oh.
Grab a Sharpie. Okay, we're starting at the top now. So, here is where we're entering step number 4. So again, just to recap, step number 1 is the pitch, is the idea. Step number 2 is the brainstorming of objections. Step number 3 is the organizing of objections from top to bottom in the order that we think we have to sell the reader on overcoming those objections. Step number 4, which is where we are right now, which is creating mini subheads that will begin the sales process of overcoming that objective. So, think of your mini subheads as mini headlines. These should all have stopping power. Every one of these should have stopping power, meaning that every one of these on their own should almost be like alternative headlines that you could use for your promotion. That's how powerful these subheads need to be. So read us the first objection up there.
Why haven't I heard about this before?
Why haven't I heard about this before? We need to turn that into a mini headline with stopping power that we use as a subhead.
Warning, government has been censoring this for 50 years.
Perfect.
Can you say it shorter?
Warning, government censored. GOVT censored.
What does this have to do with Mary?
The secret found on page 558 in the New Testament.
Boom. You guys are getting good at this.
Sounds like BS, I don't believe it.
Harvard study proves it.
Boom. Look at this. This shit's writing itself, Signorelli.
See how I'm scribbling so fast?
You could also just have
Yeah,
like
you can stick
instant either testimonials or examples.
It's 2 minutes now.
Let me make an important point too. This is where your copy buddy stops existing for a second. So when you organize that 2-hour meeting, what you're hoping to get out of that 2-hour meeting with your copy buddy or a small copy group is the brainstorming objections and the order of those objections. You take that away as an individual copywriter and begin doing what we're doing now. So this is where you disconnect from the group and go back on your own. Does that make sense? Because otherwise it would take like 16 hours to try to write all of these, constantly with your proof points that you know you have. Because your copy buddy's not gonna be able to help you tremendously there because they don't know if you do indeed have proof that this was found in a Harvard study. So this is where you're back on your own doing this and trying to turn these things into mini subheads. Anyway, I just wanted to make that point.
What does it cure?
Signorelli, this one's you. What does it cure? How would you overcome that? Because you know it a little bit more.
Cures all age-related disease.
Okay. You want to list them?
Cures Alzheimer's, cancer, heart disease, rheumatoid arthritis, Parkinson's.
Ooh, I want to see Doug spell rheumatoid arthritis.
It's going down as ARTH.
That works,
All cured.
of course.
Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, arthritis, all cured. Okay.
Okay, who are you? The next post-it note, who are you? How do we overcome that in a sales-oriented way? Anybody can call this one out.
Some type of
Former
error.
writer for Science, what was it, Science Magazine and.
This is where authority plays a big, big role in our
Right.
business. Because you could say, I'm a former writer, which is true around Brad.
Right. Doctor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be much better, right, to have an authoritative doctor figure here.
Wellness expert? I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
like this is where it's gonna cripple you, cripple our business if we don't have authoritative people in place.
Right.
You can do something quantitative like over 150,000 readers listen to what I have to say.
There you go.
Or any media outlets they've been interviewed on.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm on
CNBC.
CNBC.
I've interviewed on Fox and Friends.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Oz turns to me for advice. Could be Dr. Andrew Weil, if we could say that in copy around Brad. Dr. Andrew Weil turns to me for health advice.
People want to search with you to ask if you're a doctor, like, and if any readers say yes, you count them all up and be like, 100 doctors subscribe.
Yeah.
So again, this is where, I mentioned it earlier in Copy Camp, but this is where it would be awesome from a design side, when you're thinking about how this promotion gets laid out, just to put Brad in a white lab coat, but never say he's a doctor.
Yeah.
So if you say Dr. Andrew Weil turns to me for advice, and you got a picture of Brad next to it with a white lab coat, I bet you the reader thinks he's a doctor without you ever having to say he's
Yeah.
a doctor. So it could be a little psychological trick.
Can I call you doctor?
Okay, why tell me?
Why tell me?
Call me Dr. Bradley.
Even though it's not.
For why tell me, this would be a good opportunity, like we talked before, to like put it maybe as a mission or
Yeah.
something.
Some mission statement for Brad.
I'm on a mission to help 500 seniors a day,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Or I lost my mother to
Exactly.
Alzheimer's.
Some
whatever.
personal story, right? I'm on a personal mission. You could put whatever one down.
And you can see, like, like Joseph, one of the issues we have, especially on the financial side, is like, it's so great, why don't you just use it? Like, why tell anybody about it? You know what I mean? And if you do this right, and you just make it clean, that just, or it won't even pop in their heads, they don't even want to ask that question.
Yeah. I think this makes more sense in the investment space, right? Why not just invest in it yourself and make all this money? Why you tell me about it? Help it's a little bit easier. How does it work?
You looking at me for that?
Yeah, I don't know how it works.
It basically prevents this protein from forming that causes aging.
So,
Aging is
Science.
it's science.
Like you always, in this section, I feel like you always want like, the technical thing, and you like barely skim it a little bit, and then you put it in layman's. So
Yeah, like an
aging
analogy
suggests-
or something.
Or a metaphor or analogy to
Yeah.
explain
You
how
call
that
it-
actually works. You know,
You say,
like, it blocks proteins or something.
You say,
Aging blocker.
like, Bible era aging blocker. How I found out about the Bible aging.
How
Okay,
long,
let's do like 3 more, because I think everybody's kind of getting the point here, right?
how long before it works?
How long before it works?
Instant cure?
This will make up. Let's say 2 months.
So it's like 60 days to a new you or something like that. 60 days to a younger you. Turn back to Hands of Time in the next 60 days.
60 years and 60 days.
Turn back, erase 60 years in 60 days. That's a good one. Doug, are we confusing you?
Yeah, I just went with
I
the
know we were
first,
throwing out a
I
lot
went
of
with the
stuff,
first one. How do I know it works?
This is kind of like the same as the proof earlier, right, with the Harvard study? Sounds like BS.
Will I feel any different?
That's what I
It's not anything that I'm
Yeah.
gonna notice, right? It's just,
Yeah, I guess that would be a good spot for testimonials,
Yeah.
people who've
Yeah.
taken it in the past.
Case study number 1, Linda B. made 100 the new 50 again. Okay, that's good enough. I need to do one more thing, if that's okay, Doug.
sure, man.
Okay, so let's assume we already have the headline idea, right? So we're not gonna talk about that because Jim's still gotta form that. But let's go ahead and read these subheads as they stand right now from start to finish. So just go ahead and read them as if they were a story.
Okay. Warning, government censored for over 58 years. Secret found on page 68 of the New Testament. Harvard study proves it. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, arthritis, all cured. CNBC, Fox and Friends, and 150,000 readers all listen to me. Personal mission to help 500 people a day. Blocks aging proteins, 2 months to a new you. Case study, number 1, Linda S. made 100 the new 50.
So we're not even doing this idea justice yet, and you can see that that's organized in a pretty decent way. Would everybody agree? Like that's starting to take shape on the organization of a promo. So when you're done this process, by yourself, writing these subheads, that's where I have your copy buddy come back in again, and you read those subheads out loud to the copy buddy to see if that story is making sense. We're good. Cool. Thanks, guys. Okay, so that brings us to step number 5, and I'm gonna ask Ryan to do this again with his little formula. So step number 5, right, is that now you have all of these things, after you exit step number 4, you have all of these things in a Word document that you now understand is the sales flow of your entire promo. So this is the same equivalent to them going out in Hollywood, pulling out the cameras, bringing in the actors, and beginning to shoot the scenes, because now the scenes are all in order. Does everybody make sense for that? Any questions on that? Okay, so this is the point that you're going to begin to put in the work. This is think about this as the start of Hell Week at this point. So you have the next 30 days to do everything that we're now outlining right here. Assuming your idea got greenlit yesterday. If it didn't get greenlit, you got to go back to the drawing board and find your idea first, right? But this is what you have the next 30 days to do. When you get into Hell Week, you enter into step number 5. Step number 5, and I'll give you a tip on this in just a second, is where you're going to begin adding the actual words, the proof, that go in between these different subheads. But this should be easy because you know, for instance, during the Who Are You section, what belongs in that subhead? What belongs in between?
Authoritative proof.
That's it. So you know you have to fill out a subhead in between this subhead and that subhead that you have to prove authority. You have to sell authority. You have to sell Brad Lemley. You have to sell his trustworthiness. You have to sell his credentials. You have to sell that they should believe him as a person. So this keeps you on track, right? So here comes a real quick little tip. And I didn't know this until Nick Chalker showed me something the other day. Matt and I are writing a Bond promo that we just did this for the other day. And we lay this whole thing out, and Matt and I are going to co-write it in Google Docs. So Matt puts the entire thing in Google Docs, and then I was talking to Nick one day, and I said, Nick, I'll share this Google Doc with you so you can follow along with how Matt and I are doing it so you could see how this process is shaping up. So Nick writes to me and he goes, how did you create that outline in Google Docs? And I'm like, I have no clue what you're saying. And he's like, there's an outline in Google Docs. I'm like, I definitely do not see an outline in my Google Docs. So I'm like, come up here. So he runs up here, and I reload the Google Doc on my screen, and there is no outline. And I'm like, I don't know, I think Nick's crazy at this point. Nick's like, no, I'm telling you, there's an outline. He's like, log out and log back in. So I log out and I log back in, and sure enough, there's an outline in Google Docs that I never knew was there. It can help you tremendously now that I've learned the secret. So here's the quick little secret to how you do this. If you start up a Google Doc, and you write all of your subheads, on the left-hand side of Google Docs, there's something that says change from normal text to subheaded text. When you change that, an outline should appear on the left-hand side of that document. It's pretty awesome, because now on the left-hand side of your document, you will see a running outline of your entire promotion, no matter where you are in filling out your subheads. So as you fill out your subheads in the main document, you can always see your subheads on the left-hand side. So you always see what is going to be the next subhead. It's pretty awesome. It's going to change the way I write because I've never seen that outline before. Okay, so now coming back to step number 5 real quick. So step number 5, again, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to fill in between your subheads. But this should be relatively easy because you know what cell you have to make in that subheaded section. So, like Sonia was saying, you know, in the Who Are You section, in between this subhead and this subhead, your only cell that you have to make is on Brad Lemley. Pretty easy, right? So you know here, in this subheaded section, why tell me that you're going to have to sell the idea that he finds it some reason to share this information? There's some benefit to him to share this information. Maybe he is on that personal mission because maybe one of his family members died from one of these age-related diseases, and he never wants to see another American go through the suffering that his family member saw. That's what you need to do in that subhead. So this is keeping you on track and organized. Again, to come full circle back to this copyboarding thing, when I see copy that gets turned into me and it's like 95 pages, it's all over the fucking place, right? It's all over the fucking place. Like someone is proving Brad Lemley up here, and then reproving Brad Lemley down here, and then reproving Brad Lemley in a much bigger way down here. And I'm like, this is all fucked up, right? Like that's where you're gonna have to delete 15 pages, because it's like, you don't need to prove Brad Lemley down here. If the person's got down here, they already believe Brad Lemley, or else they wouldn't have still been in the promo. If there was still an objection about who the fuck are you on page 55, like they're not gonna be reading, because they would have felt frustrated by that and not believe that person would have exited the promotion.
If anything, it just destroyed your credibility too. Because why? We're just thinking, well, why does he keep telling me about himself when I already believed him?
I have literally seen promos that introduce the author 3 times without acknowledging that the author has been introduced 2 other times. That seems fucking crazy to me. Like the guy's got schizophrenia or something. You know, like it'll say like, hi, I'm Brad Lemley up here. I'm not joking you. And then it'll be like on page 40 that'll say, hi, my name is Brad Lemley. And then on page like 65 it'll say, my name, by the way, is Brad Lemley. And then you're like, who the fuck are you? This fucking guy's crazy. I'm not eating a Virgin Mary's milk thistle from this spot. So, I know, again, that's like an egregious example, but it's happening. I'm telling you, it happens. And it happens because the writer is going, I'm going to write brilliantly from the top of my head. And they don't even fucking realize that they did it 2 other times in the fucking promo. And that shit will happen again and again. You'll see the same lines about proof. You know, uh-oh. I feel like that's the copyboarding god coming down. Doug. I can't get that thing. Whoa. Okay, all making sense so far.
Hey, Joe?
Yes.
Just to back up on what you said,
Yeah.
when you go into a document, if you go up on the top, there's if you go into tools, it specifically says document outline.
Yes.
And the only thing that will show up is anything that's in some sort of a subhead.
Yep. And I did not have my document outline turned on, which is why I thought Nick was crazy when he kept telling me there was an outline there, and I kept telling him there wasn't. So I think it's a pretty awesome tool. Because again, on the left-hand side, you're going to be able to see all of your subheads, and on the right-hand side, you're going to see your entire full-length promotion. So you can know if you're in this section, you can see easily that that's the next place you're going, that you need to overcome. Okay, so let's talk about in between these subheads, right? This is where Ryan's formula is coming into play. Because if you use this in between each subhead, like Ryan was saying earlier, so how does it work? You're going to have to riff for a second. But if you look at how does it work, which is turning into it blocks aging proteins, you know that this is going to be a mechanism section.
So you just made a claim there, right? Blocks agent. You gotta like back that up with proof. So what are like 3 pieces of proof you guys can think of just based on the ones that I provided on that sheet? You know, one of them might be explaining how the mechanism works. You know, some sort of semi-logical argument. Another might be like a picture, a diagram. Another might be just a piece of social proof saying it works from somebody else.
Yeah, and that social proof could be, you know, a case study piece of proof of someone actually doing this. It could be a scientific study. So now you've got your claim.
Get the proof, and then the key thing you never want to forget is what's in it for them. What's the benefit?
Right.
Just saying it doesn't really give anything. The benefit might be because it can block aging proteins. Therefore, it can cure just about any disease, or therefore it's non-invasive, unlike other forms of medication or surgery. So you always got to have that benefit. What's in it for them? Because just telling them that claim and that proof's not enough. I mean, you got to tie it back to them personally and how it benefits them.
Let's do the same thing just as another example in the who are you section. So the claim that you could make is, I'm the guy that doctors turn to when they want to know what to do next. And that could be true around Brad because he was the ghostwriter, or I don't want to throw too much stuff out there, but I mean, he did work with Dr. Andrew Weil, who is a pretty famous doctor that's appeared on a lot of pretty national television shows. So he could say, I'm the guy that a famous doctor turned to when he wanted advice. Okay, so that's your claim, right? So your proof could be, you know, I've appeared on TV 32 times. I've written more than 200,000 words in all these best-selling books. And it could be a testimonial from Dr. Andrew Weil about how great Brad is. So there you got your 3 pieces of proof. And then your benefit could be, you know, never trust, right? Like I would say that you should never trust the mainstream medicine. I'm this alternative medicine doctor. If you listen to what I have to say, you're going to learn alternative cures before anybody else will ever tell you because they just don't know. So that kind of objection, claim, proof, benefit can be used for each one of these subheaded sections. So let's talk about questions. Does everybody see generally how this works? Does everyone see generally how to apply it? So you have your idea that you pitched yesterday. We talked about finding pieces of proof. We talked about the idea of how powerful a mechanism can be, you know, with the influence techniques and the authoritative pieces of proof. So again, you're still sharpening the axe here before you ever begin chopping down that tree. You continue to sharpen that axe by now saying, I have my idea, I have my proof points, you know, I have my authoritative proof that I want to make. I know I can find these things in case studies as it relates to Jim's idea with medical journals and things. This is going to be the next step of the process, organizing these mini cells in a way that makes sense for the reader. This should be done in the next month. So this is what you're spending the next month of your life on. Again, the only side note to that is that if you didn't have an idea that got greenlit by somebody, go find an idea quickly. Begin repitching your ideas. You have 30 ideas in that idea sheet. Pitch your second best idea to people. Try to get that idea some feedback. Once you do have those ideas, this is the next 30 days of your life. Take your copy buddy, say, let's do this thing. Let's organize these Post-it notes. Let's write these subheads. Let me read these subheads back to you. Then when you get to Hell Week, all you're doing is filling in between your subheads, which should be relatively easy because you have all your proof. You know your idea. It's organized in a way. Now you just begin the easiest part of the process, which is what I believe to be the writing process. It's only easy because you've done all the hard work. You've sharpened that axe so much. So this is where, you know, you talk to people and they'll be like, you can't write a promo in a week. It's kind of true in a way, because what they don't know is you've thought about that idea for 2 months and you've organized that idea. So you absolutely can write an idea in a week. You probably can't conceive of that idea, organize that idea, research that idea, and write that idea in a week. But if you're talking about writing, that's the true part. You're just writing it fast, right? So if you're constantly thinking about all these ideas, you're constantly finding proof, you're constantly thinking about structure, then when it comes to writing, that's the easy part of writing it in a week. That's the thing that, you know, we're able to do in a way that most freelance copywriters would say, it's impossible, you can't write a promo in a week. You absolutely can. But it's all this constant idea generation that's happening behind the scenes that they never think about.
I'd say you can write it in a day, and Jose can attest to that. I know you guys did it pretty quick, and the first ones we did was a week.
Mhm.
But that Blueback promo, we had the idea, and some drum up the proof. But you can actually, obviously you gotta come up with the idea like you're saying, and then it helps to have all your research. But just like I was saying, you can brute force your ideas when you're trying to find those idea sheets. If you really put your mind to it and you have that structure, you know, like it's search and destroy, you know exactly what proof you're looking for. So you can just brute force, if it's like, how does this work, and you know it's milk thistle, you can just brute force that proof.
Yeah.
And just as long as you're disciplined, you can do it.
To
It's not
follow up
always the
Pete's
most
point,
inspirational thing to do, but it's hard to do consistently.
the follow up Pete's point, I mean, you could get really lost in research. You could research the crap out of your idea forever and never have it. Like, using this, like, I don't know anything about Jim's idea at all. I mean, based other than what he told me. So, the fact that, you know, just spitballing, we can come up with all these things. You know, we could find the proof then to fill in all these things, you know what I mean? Like, after the fact.
The other thing I think is important too is one of the things we're supposed to be doing is writing a page of copy a day. If you are not doing that, or if you're not used to doing that, you gotta start doing it. Because again, he came from the DR, he was writing DRs every single day. I came from DRH for 2 years straight, every single day, I was writing 1,500 words. I know how to write. So if you don't know how to do that and you're new to writing, you should be writing every day. So if you're not doing it up to this point, start writing every day. Because otherwise, when you get to Hell Week, you're gonna be like, what do I do? Like, you're not gonna, like, typing's not gonna come. So, I'd get that going now.
I told you guys at the start of this thing that the specialty that we're going to be focusing in is the most important skill set that you need to have in direct response, which is how you write sales copy. But I also told you during this thing that it's designed, if we do this the right way, you're designed to be holistic direct marketers when you come out of this thing that understand how to drive traffic, how to do graphic design better than a lot of quote-unquote graphic designers, that you'll understand the numbers. This is falling apart. Jim, this is not a good sign for your promo.
Yeah, take a picture as soon as you're done.
I don't even know where that one. So what you're going to see during Copy Camp here is we're beginning to transition to that other stuff. So over the next couple weeks, we're going to start to transition to the numbers of direct response, graphic design of direct response, dealing with legal and compliance in a way that gets your persuasive promo through legal with the least amount of scars coming out of it. We're beginning to finish up this kind of core specialty, which is copywriting. So when we move in the next couple weeks, it's going to move into the direction. You're going to notice a shift into the direction of marketing, of direct response, in the things that come after you have working ideas and promos. Now that all said, again, this is the most important skill, right? Writing copy is the most important skill. So if you have questions as we go along in the next couple weeks, just feel free to bring them up, you know, that we could talk about them in here, but we're going to start to shift into when your idea is done, when you've written it, what happens next, who's involved next, show you the process, show you the numbers, show you how to drive traffic. Because again, I think that the people that will succeed in this business, I know, let's say, I don't think, because that's weak language, I know that the people who succeed in this business are going to be people who aren't just copywriters and aren't just marketers. It's going to be the people that are holistically good at doing this business, meaning that they know how to write copy, they know how to drive traffic, they understand the importance of traffic, they know how to recognize good graphic design. So this is what this course is going to shift to next, is showing you how to be that person that's going to succeed, while other people who are only specialized in one area will fail or not succeed in our business. Quick questions on this before we end it though. Any questions? Do you guys all agree just to try it on your next promo? Show of hands. Everybody buying in? You're going to try it on your next promo? Again, you try it, it doesn't work, then go back to trying to do it a different way, right? Trying to write from a blank screen. Doesn't work for me. I don't think it'll work for you guys, but I want you to try this at least on your next promo. I guarantee that it will be beneficial.
A while back, you recommended that we should read the promo out loud to a buddy.
Yep.
But I'd say that this is also helpful to have someone that hasn't heard the idea before try to come up with the objections.
Yep.
Because after you've done all the research, you're thinking on the right side of the column and not the left.
Yep.
That's a similar thing I was gonna say, is try and get a bunch of people, I don't know how you guys wanna organize it, but you don't wanna have 1 or 2 people doing this, because structurally what we're trying to do, we're gonna send this to hundreds of thousands of people. We're trying to get all of the top objections from those people in this process. If you have 1 or 2 people and they're kind of the same, and they're thinking along the same way, you're not gonna get good objections.
I'd limit it to no more than 5.
But I wouldn't do 2 or 3 personally.
So, because otherwise you're going to get paralysis by analysis. you're gonna get so many objections, and then you're like, if 1 out of the 5 feels that objection, the other 4 don't, and you're starting to include it in your objections, that it may not actually be an objection that you have to overcome. Like at some point, the group gets too big, right? That's why I was saying that this isn't really ideal, because the group gets too big and you're writing what's called copy by committee, which is never good. You need to have a tight group.
And I don't know if it makes a difference, but I always try to at least ask one person, like my mom, who has no fucking idea what copy is or marketing or anything, and see, I always seem to get like some good nugget out of someone who knows nothing about what the hell you're talking about or what your business is.
Yep.
Even when you're finished your first draft, like this process goes on. When you go through and re-edit your first draft, which is something you should do, we didn't get a lot into editing, but you should definitely, if you're handing off your first draft, you should never do that to somebody else. It should be your 3rd or 4th draft before you actually show somebody else, and definitely before you turn it into Joe. But you should be thinking through again every time you read it. Do I have any other objections that I can think of? And constantly be sharpening it. Sometimes you might go back and figure out that even though you went through this whole process that you missed something. Well, you still have a chance to fix it.
Okay, so on Thursday, we are moving on. Again, we're starting to shift a little bit. We're shifting out of writing the full-length promotion, and we're shifting into all the supplemental material that goes with your promotions and why you should care. So we're going to talk about order forms. We're going to talk about upsell paths. You know, we're assuming, again, that you're moving along with this kind of sales idea. If there's any questions, you know, about continued sales process, of course, that's the most important thing. We're going to talk about those. But again, you will notice a noticeable shift here. Pete's got something to say.
Just on the copyboarding, I like tried to do this presentation in Europe with the farm people, and I came up with another thing that I've been doing personally, because since Joe's taught me this, I've like started to try to reduce the whole world to copyboards. And so when I read a piece of copy each day, like we're supposed to be doing, I try, it's a little time consuming, but I try to reverse storyboard those promos. So literally, I'll mark up the promo like normal and go in the margins and like write whatever I think the person was trying to do at each line. But at the end, then I'll do like a one sheet where I go over the offer, the fulfillment, everything in the one sheet. But then at the end of the one sheet, I'll literally retype all of the subheads that were in that promo, and then I'll try to reduce them to the objections that they address. And then again, it's just a really cool shortcut. For example, like Kyle, I know you were talking about, like, I want to do a dark DTA promo that's kind of a version of dark trades. If you reverse storyboard dark trades, then you kind of already have a good sense of what's worked, and you can compare whatever storyboard you have to what's worked in the past. So there are storyboards out there right now that are proven that you can just literally take. And it just takes looking beneath that subhead and realizing it addresses some objection and then reducing it. So you can do this process in the reverse each day you're reading a promo.
Yep, absolutely. This is where it helps to save and archive all the promos that you've read in some type of, you know, easily accessible archive, because you can go back and say, this idea is like that one. It's a new idea, but it's like that one in structure, therefore I'm going to reverse storyboard and have my storyboard based on that promo that I read before. So you save yourself a bunch of work. Jim.
I just want to thank everyone in the room. You made my life a lot easier.
Okay, we'll see you guys Thursday. Order forms, one-time offers, funnels, all that good stuff.